Hello guys, welcome back to the channel, where today we're going to be analysing the finer points of Assassin's Creed 1, going into depth on characters and their later lives, as well as talking about certain items of the game, i.e. the Piece of Eden and the Hidden Blade. Note that this video is being based around the time after myself finishing the first Assassin's Creed game, and I do understand that there are games out there with updated story and plot in this series, for which I have played. But when it comes to certain items or characters, I will be talking about information around the first game as a whole, with no further extension into later AC titles, such as Assassin's Creed 2 or Origins, but only the books, which is where certain characters will be further expanded upon. Other characters will not be spoken about until I have played later AC titles and uploaded them to my channel, but this may be extended when it comes to the Hidden Blade and its usage across the games, but this will be an as and when scenario. So going through the characters first of all, we have our main characters Altair and Amwalim, both Master Assassin and Mentor in their respective rights. Amwalim, also known as Mentor and the Old Man in the Mountain, started out as an assassin novice, and built his way from novice to Master Assassin and Mentor, and began to train Altair at a young age, on the last will of Altair's father, Umar, before he was subsequently executed by Saladin's army in 1176 AD. Al-Mualim's ideology was with the Creed and stood by its morals until at an unknown time, where Al-Mualim had begun to contact the enemy Templars as both sides sought the same thing, peace, but both sides were going across it in different ways, by force or by steering the public towards it. This meant Al-Mualim's ideology was being threatened, and his own morals started to become blurred, especially around the year 1191 AD, where he had begun to access the Apple of Eden retrieved by Malik from Solomon's Temple in Jerusalem. Al-Mualim had tried to gain a piece of Eden before this, only known as the Chalice, in 1190 AD, and had actually relocated to Aleppo, based in Syria. Why he did this is known because of the Chalice's power over the land. It could be used to unite all factions under one banner, and from there on would be able to rule the Holy Land. But after this assignment being failed, he returned to Masyaf. The Apple began to show visions to Al-Mualim, but the Apple sensed the Mentor's need for peace and power, and because of this, Al-Mualim abandoned his morals and started to venture towards the Templar side of gaining peace. Instead of taking free will away from the people, he would take it away from all people, and leave only himself in charge, which made him worse than Templars. He was killed by Altair in 1191 AD, and has since become a learning point for all assassins across the world, and for this Altair was not punished, but despised by members of the Order for years to come. Altair was born in 1165 AD to mother Maud and father Umar, and as an unfortunate start to Altair's life, Maud died during childbirth, and Umar was left to raise Altair until the age of 11, when Umar was executed by Saladin's army in Ahmed Sofian's place, Abbas's father. This, in Ahmed's eyes, brought him great shame to Altair's family, and after much grief he decided to end it all in front of Altair, staining Altair's life for years to come. Amwalim soon after this makes Altair swear not to tell Abbas the truth, and that his father walked away from the Order instead of the former. Altair kept his word, and both he and Abbas became friends throughout the years. And with this, as both grew up, Altair started to notice some things were wrong with Abbas, and Altair knew it was something to do with his father, and whether he would come back to the Order or not. Altair felt that telling Abbas would help him, but was ultimately wrong, and Abbas became loathsome towards Altair, and they both became enemies for years to come. Altair would become Master Assassin years later, and in the year 1190 AD, Amwalim sent Altair to Aleppo to find the Chalice, and this, as far as we know, was Altair's first huge mission to undertake before the Hunt of the Nine, almost a year later. After the events of Assassin's Creed, Altair decides to burn Amwalim's body. The reason behind this is that Altair believes that the Apple of Eden still would have some control over Amwalim's body. This, in Abbas's eyes, would further disgrace the Order, and with this on top of his hate for Altair, Abbas would plan to overthrow Altair in the years to come. After the events of Assassin's Creed Bloodlines, Altair would further meet Maria, who had since left the Templar Order, and they began their journey and relationship together. And with this, they married in 1195 AD, and in the same year had their first son, Darim. And 2 years later, after a visit to Acre, they had a second son, Seth. Throughout their journeys, Altair studies the apple in short doses, learning extensive knowledge of the world, and with himself and Malik at his side, they both refined their assassination techniques and writing the Codex, which is Altair's diary of sorts of his life and the knowledge he has since found within the apple. In 1217 AD, Altair and his family, aside from Seth, made their way to Mongolia and left Malik in charge of the order. 11 years later, both Altair, Maria and Darim arrived back in Masyaf to find the village in ill morale and harsh circumstances. They had gone to meet Raouf and was greeted by Swami, a former apprentice whom Altair disliked, and was told the tragic news that Raouf had died of fever during their absence. By this point, Seth had travelled to Alamu with his family, and Swami had explained that Malik had been imprisoned for what was unknown by this point. With this, Abbas was voted in as leader. After this, Darim was sent to find Seth the day after this. After Darim left, it was revealed to Altair that Malik had killed Seth to take over the order, and Altair believed at first that this had happened. With this, Altair, furious with what Malik had done, decided to pay him a visit, but Maria had made it so that Altair would hear him out, as this was unlike Malik to kill and usurp anyone. And with this, him being a true friend to Altair, Malik explained what had happened to Seth and who actually killed him. With this, it was revealed that 2 years before, Abbas had staged a coup within Masyaf and killed Seth, framing Malik for the murder in the process. With this new information, Altair and Maria left Malik to sleep and went to confront Abbas. During the conversation, Swami walked in with a burlap sack and gave it to Altair. It was later revealed that Malik had been killed in the night and the sack contained his head by Swami's doing.
The Templars have retaken their archive on Cyprus. Abbas sent no reinforcements. It was a massacre.
Oh my God.
Maria, when we left Masyaf 10 years ago, this order was strong. But all our progress has been undone.
Abbas must answer for this.
Answer to whom? The assassins obey only his command now.
Resist your desire for revenge, Altair. Speak truth, and they will see their error.
He executed our youngest son, Maria. He deserves to die.
Perhaps. But if you cannot win back the Order by honorable means, its foundation will crumble.
You are right. 30 years ago, I let passion overtake my reason. And it caused a rift that has never fully healed.
Let them speak.
We seek the truth about our son's death. Why was Seth killed?
Is it the truth you want? Or an excuse for revenge?
If the truth gives us an excuse, we will act on it.
Surrender the apple, Altair, and I will tell you why your son was put to death.
Ah, the truth is out already. Abbas wants the apple for himself, not to open your minds, but to control them.
You have held that artifact for 30 years, Altair, reveling in its power and hoarding its secrets. It has corrupted you.
Very well, Abbas. Take it.
What?
Before I executed your son, I told him you ordered it yourself. He died believing you had betrayed him.
Altair! Altair! No! Strength. Altair.
Maria.
He is possessed! Kill him! Take the apple, now!
Father, I got your message. What has happened?
Darim, turn back!
Have they all gone mad?
We have to go. Abbas must not get his hands on the apple.
If you need more knives, take them.
I will have the apple, Altair, and I will have your head for all the dishonor he brought upon my family. You cannot run forever! Not from us, and not from your lies!
Maria. My love.
With this, Altair and his son Darim escaped to Alamu, and for years to come Altair studied the apple, but with this, and grieved by the loss of his wife and son, he became to resent the apple, and later drove away his daughter-in-law and granddaughters, who later settled in Alexandria, Egypt. After this, Darim left a year later to warn France and England of the incoming Mongol threat. After an unknown amount of years, Altair started to regain himself and started studying the apple, gleaning new pieces of information on forms of medicine, designs, and artifacts. In 1247 AD, at the age of 82 years old, Altair decided to make his way back to Masyaf, and upon entering Masyaf, he was immediately followed by an assassin. Soon after this, Altair turned on the assassin, who revealed himself to be Malik Al-Saif, Malik's son. After this, Altair, Tazim, and around 20 assassins still loyal to the Order made their way to the castle to confront and overthrow Abbas. Altair, stating that there would be no killing of any of the assassins who were defending their master, they successfully go to the entrance to the castle, and Altair explains what happened to Abbas's father. And with this...
They say he screams in his sleep, calling out for his father.
Abbas, what a miserable man.
It is not our place to judge.
It certainly is. If our master has gone mad, I would like to know.
Shh. Good evening.
Water.
Of course. Sit.
Many thanks.
What brings you here, old man?
Pity Abbas. Do not mock him. He has lived as an orphan for most of his life, shamed by his family's legacy. He is desperate for power, because he is powerless.
He is our mentor, and unlike Amwalim or Altair, he never betrayed us.
Nonsense. Altair was no traitor. He was driven out, unjustly. Is it you? I heard rumors, but I did not believe them.
I wonder if I might speak to Abbas myself. It's been a long time.
Impossible. Abbas uses rogue Fedayeen to keep us from the castle.
Fewer than half the fighters here are true assassins.
So, where do I begin?
With us.
Kill him! Kill him now! What are you waiting for? You fools! He has bewitched you!
Tell your men to stand down!
No! I am defending Masyaf! Would you not do the same?
You corrupted everything we stand for and lost everything we gained. All of it sacrificed on the altar of your own spite.
And you! You have wasted your life staring into that apple, dreaming of your own glory.
That is true, Abbas. I learned many things from the apple. Of life and death, of the past and the future. Let me show you.
I can never forgive you, Altair. The lies you told about my family, my father, the humiliation I suffered.
They were not lies, Abbas. I was 10 years old when your father came to see me. He was in tears, begging to be forgiven for betraying my family. Then he cut his own throat. I watched his life ebb away at my feet. I will never forget that image.
No!
But he was not a coward, Abbas. He reclaimed his honor.
I hope there is another life after this one. Then I will see him and know the truth of his final days. And when it is your time, we will find you. And then there will be no doubts.
For the next decade, Altair began to build a library underneath the castle where he contained thousands of books containing knowledge of the apple. He would later invite Niccolo and Mefeopolo to the fortress and tell them of his life, which Niccolo would pass to his son Marco in the form of a journal. Short clip of Altair giving the journal to Niccolo. During these years, he expanded into other areas of the world, opening guilds where he could, and with this, with Darim's assistance, they removed the books from the library and sent them to the guilds around the world, including giving some to the Polos themselves. In the later years of 1257 AD, Masyaf became under siege by the Mongols, which meant the Polos had to leave as soon as possible. Before this, however, Altair gave his codex to them, relying on them to spread their teachings. After this, Altair had one last thing to do before finishing the evacuation of Masyaf. He met with his son Darim outside the library they had both built, and this cutscene that you're about to see perfectly sums up what happens.
You have seen to my books.
Yes. Some we sent with the Polos. The rest will go with me to Alexandria.
Good. Very good.
Father, I do not understand. Why did you build a library if you did not intend to keep your books?
You should go. When the Mongols return, Masyaf must be empty.
I see. This is not a library at all. It is a vault.
It must stay hidden, Darim. Far from eager hands. At least until it has passed on the secret it contains.
What secret?
Go, son. Go be with your family. And live well.
All that is good in me began with you, Father.
If you are asked, say I sent the apple away. Tell them I sent it to Cyprus, or Cipango, or that I dropped it into the sea. Tell them anything to keep men away from this place. This apple must not be found. Not until the time is right.
With this, Altair went down in history as one of the wisest assassins to have graced the Order, and is still a point of reference even in later entries, and with this is the only person to have spent the most time with a piece of Eden. Malik Al-Saif was born in 1165 AD and was raised into the Assassin Order. He began to learn that the fighting arts struck fear into the hearts of enemies, and with this became an excellent swordsman and devoted acolyte to the Creed, as well as a really good brother to Kadar, a young recruit who would look up to Altair later in his life. Malik very early on nurtured a hatred for Altair for his talents and Amwalim's favour towards him. With this, Malik gave more than usual scrutiny towards Altair when he breaks the tenets of the Creed during their mission to Solomon's Temple in Jerusalem. With this in mind, Malik viciously indicates Altair in the killing of his brother after confronting Robert de Sable. During the events of Assassin's Creed, Malik would help Altair track his targets, but very reluctantly due to his brother's death and his own involvement. After the events of Assassin's Creed, Malik would assist Altair in researching the apple and would become second in command, and would later become temporary leader of the Order during Altair's trip to Mongolia with his wife Maria. Malik's rule would become overthrown and would be framed for the murder of Altair's son, Seth, which would end up becoming false. Malik's life came abruptly to an end as he was assassinated by Swami on Abbas's orders in 1228 at the age of 63, and Malik would become, in Altair's mind, a standard to be set for all assassins. The pieces of Eden are items of power that are used throughout the Assassin's Creed universe, and come in many different shapes and come with their own abilities. Later games explain where these items come from, but for this particular video we're just going to focus on the second piece of Eden that is used in AC1, which is at this point no longer functioning as it was destroyed in an Abstergo facility in Denver in 2012. This is something that is slowly revealed through the first Assassin's Creed game and later called the DIA satellite incident. The Apple of Eden itself passed from Altair to Elizabeth I of England, and even to Mahatma Gandhi, and later to William Greer, a Secret Service agent assigned to drive John F. Kennedy's limousine. During the DIA incident, the project lead Daniel Cross, working on the Apple, fell under its influence and killed all the faculty on site. There was only one survivor who went on to expose the company for what had happened, but what had happened to Cross afterwards was unknown. The Hidden Blade is a tool that has been used by the Assassins since its inception in Ptolemaic Egypt, and is an iconic piece of the franchise. As we see in the first Assassin's Creed game, it is used as a main weapon of assassination, and is to be used with one of the tenets of the Creed in mind: draw not attention to oneself whenever possible. Be but a blade in the crowd, Altair would say, and this pretty much sums up the genius behind the Hidden Blade and its complex workings. The overall design of the blade starts with the bracer, which is the main sleeve of the weapon or where the weapon will be latched onto the arm of the assassin. In the early days, the blade would be used on the back of the arm as opposed to the underneath. This would in turn become a weapon, not just for slashing or stabbing, but to be used to deflect blows as well until it arrived in the arms of Bayek of Siwa in Egypt, a Magi on a quest for revenge where he would wear this blade on the underneath of his arm. These blueprints would depict the overall design and its flaws, but it's also best to show you these actual flaws in action.
Look at this. I took it from Actaeon. Apollodorus tells me it is a papyrus from the Royal Council, which means the snake is in Ptolemy's court.
How does this Apollodorus know these things?
He has informants everywhere, because of his work with Cleopatra.
But Cleopatra? She's been declared a criminal.
By her treacherous brother, yes. She plans to take back the throne. She wants the snake dead as much as we do. And she trusts me. She gave me this to slit his throat. It's an ancient blade that killed the tyrant Xerxes. A weapon of justice.
Ingenious. I will go to the palace and discover who uses the seal of the snake. And I will use this.
After this, Bayek would upgrade this blade to be more resistant to shock, and the bracer would become more robust as more metals and smithing techniques were discovered. As Bayek later forms the Assassin Order, his followers would see the missing finger he now has, and this would be seen as a form of solidarity to the Creed under Bayek's dismay.
I have founded a bureau in the middle of Rome, yet no one knows of our existence. Like Amun, we are the Hidden Ones.
I believe in you.
As the Order or the Hidden Ones grew stronger and gained more footholds in the world, the more the Hidden Blade became part of the Assassin's arsenal. And as we see in Assassin's Creed 1, more assassins seem to have gained this tool more often than not, which means these weapons had been produced more often, keeping some sort of codex in mind of the design of the blade. This would not be seen as far-fetched, especially as we see Altair leaving a codex behind detailing assassination techniques and blueprints for different blades. As techniques evolved over the years, we started to see different designs crop up around 15th century Italy, also known as the Renaissance period, where Ezio Auditore came across pieces of Altair's codex, prompting him to use the hidden blade in different ways. But the improvements were made on the blade by none other than Leonardo da Vinci, who managed to find a way to bypass the accidental ring finger being cut off flaw. My opinion is that the ejecting of the blade could have moved somewhat a few millimeters away from the wrist to avoid this, or the ring pull mechanism shown in the blueprint could require a more tougher pull, which meant spring the fingers away to extend the rope, thus keeping fingers out of the way when the blade is ejected. That's my opinion anyway. An interesting design of Ezio's blade is that it's almost a blade within a blade design, or a collapsible blade if you will. This, with Leonardo's improvements, it was made that Ezio could wield two blades at once, and with the blade being underneath his arm, this would leave another arm with a hardened bracer, which would make open combat more viable, with various improvements later adding poison needles underneath the blade itself to having a one-shot primitive gun underneath the blade as well, which added more variety and technique to the assassin wielding it. Later in Ezio's life, the blade would undergo an overhaul in Constantinople in the year 1511 AD, with a blade with a retractable grip.
Ezio, where is your hook blade?
My hook blade?
You've never seen one?
Show me how it works.
The hook blade helps you get around fast. Surprise guards. And is not too bad in a fight either. Maybe you want to hook and throw someone, or just pick their pockets. And with our zip lines, you can take to the air. The standard Ottoman hook blade has two parts, you see. The hook and the blade. So you can use one or the other. An elegant design.
When it comes to Assassin's Creed 3, the blade sort of takes a step back in my opinion, and though it still takes a hidden blade approach, it adds something that I feel detracts from itself, and that is the detachable rotational dagger thing, which granted adds something to the combat variety, that with the tomahawk as well, but I feel takes away from the subtlety of the hidden blade. But seeing as Assassin's Creed 3 is set in a revolutionary wartime, then fair play for symbolism's sake. Assassin's Creed 4, however, takes the subtle approach to the blade again, and with various trailers of AC4 showing a sort of two-life situation of the assassin, This pretty much goes on through later titles, but with varying additions to the bracer, including a crossbow mechanism and a grappling hook. And that is it for now, guys. I'd like to give a special thank you to you all for watching this video today. Feel free to hit the like button and subscribe for more Assassin's Creed content. And yeah, guys, I will see you on the next video. Thank you very much.